Hello and welcome to the Capital Games Podcast. I am the Wiz.
And I'm Zero.
Zero, you should have been faster because we have to do this fast because we have so much information to go through with this non-E3 stuff that we have to do this fast. So let's do it. Okay, so past week and a half or so, we've had the Summer Games Fest going on. It started with State of Play, and we're going to go through a bunch of what happened. And we're going to talk about as much detail as possible without really getting into the weeds. So, Zero, why don't we start with State of Play that happened on June 2nd, which was about a week and a half ago. And we're gonna just go over the hits, the things that matter, the things that are getting buzz, or games that we thought showed off well. So, why don't we start with Summer Games Fest? Or not Summer Games Fest, with State of Play. Jesus Christ. Go ahead.
The big kickoff was Resident Evil 4, the remake,
Mhm.
finally got announced with a release date, which had been great news because for the longest time there had been speculation that it was under progress, and then finally just Capcom and Sony just let the cat out of the bag. Finally, they're like, "Yep, it's confirmed. It's finally coming."
Yeah, and even with the Capcom showcase, there wasn't much gameplay, but with the track record they have with remaking 2 and 3, I think most are excited and are trusting that this will turn out well. So it's good that they announced it, and it's good it's not in development hell. That doesn't mean it might not get delayed, but but they're confident enough to have an exact date. So my feeling is that's probably going along pretty well, and with people excited, they're probably going to be full steam ahead to that date.
Yep.
The other one we're going to talk about very little is Callisto Protocol. They had a gameplay slash... They had a little bit of gameplay in the trailer, but I think we're going to talk about that more on Summer Games Fest. But that did show off... It showed off pretty well. But we'll skip that to, I think, probably the biggest game that got the most buzz and the most talk in State of Play, which is Street Fighter 6. Which surprises me a lot, because as popular as Street Fighter is, it is a niche genre that's in, and only certain people are into those games. But I'm seeing people who probably haven't played a Street Fighter or a fighting game in a long time saying they're interested in seeing this. So, what do you what have you been hearing, and what do you think of Street Fighter 6?
It's been really interesting because, one, I'd stake my reputation in a way, saying, "Yeah, they're going to talk about it."
Yeah,
and sure enough, it actually showed up.
And I thought that wasn't going to happen. I thought it was going to be an Evo thing. So you got that right, absolutely.
So, but the buzz online with the fighting game community has been really interesting because Capcom has been going all out with just showcasing just what the game's all about, and Maximilian even has a video of 20 minutes of developer gameplay.
Yeah, and it looks
matches.
it looks kind of rough around the edges in some aspects, but it does look solid. It looks good.
Yeah, and there have been a bunch of fighting game personalities that have been doing sort of mechanic dissections with how much detail Capcom has provided with the mechanics, and a lot of the fighting game community who had been sort of burnt out or cynical from Street Fighter V, they're already going, "Hey, I'm really freaking excited for this, and I cannot wait to get my hands on this."
They are, and if they're excited, you know that the mechanics of the game is solid, and that Capcom is this just shows that Capcom is very comfortable in people seeing the game, and that they are comfortable, and they're confident that this game is going to do well. That they're so confident that they're going to let people play it 6 months before the game is actually out, which shows off very well. So, with people that are in the fighting game community excited, and the game looking really good, and the possibilities of the single player content, I mean, to me, this was the game of State of Play. And it surprised me a lot, and I really enjoyed what they showed. And me being a fighting game fan, I was already excited. And me not being a fan of Street Fighter V, basically turned my opinion upside down to where I was. cautious about thinking maybe Street Fighter 6 might be okay. Now I'm excited. So yeah, like they did a fantastic job showing it off, and it looks fantastic. I can't wait to see more of it. And
Yeah, and
go ahead.
as a side note, uh, Capcom did disclose this after the state of play, but the game is coming out to PC and Xbox as well too.
Hmm.
And on top of that, it will also be cross-platform play, which will be great for Capcom because now they technically own the EVO organization, so they'll be able to really get those tournament numbers way up.
And it's gonna be on previous gen consoles. So
Yep.
this is gonna be a game that once it's out is gonna probably sell really, really well. So you're not gonna have the problem that maybe most fighting games have, where if you're not playing within the first 2 weeks and getting better, you might as well just quit because you're gonna get bodied by the time that you start playing. So that's good. What is surprising about State of Play is what isn't, I think, the big game that everyone's talking about from it, which is Final Fantasy 16. That was showed off in an extended trailer, and the talk of it was, yeah, it's good, but then it died. Like, no one's talking about it after. I think people, after Summer Games Fest, has now completely forgotten it actually was revealed. So I'm really surprised by how the talk of that died so quick.
Yeah, and it's really strange because I know just a lot of the RPG fanatics were had this thought that it was going to be the big one. Just this one was going to be the one with just maximum excitement and everything. And sure enough, Street Fighter V had a beat, which is very odd,
Yeah,
considering how niche Street Fighter is compared to the broad appeal that Final Fantasy has.
right. I mean, is this a sign that maybe the Final Fantasy brand is dying off a little bit?
I don't really think so. I think a lot of people are just sort of kind of going, well, that's nice to know that, we're getting a little bit more details on Final Fantasy, but this still isn't really substantial enough detail to really get the excitement going.
Yeah, okay, I could see that. It looks pretty. It looks actually really good. But I think also people are looking at the setting. And let's be honest, the past, God, except for 14, the past, the ones since 97, which is Final Fantasy 7, have mainly been futuristic and kind of and filled with like how do I put this? They seem more modern and edgy in a way than this does. But this seems
Yeah.
more like Game of Thrones ish, or really what classic Final Fantasy was, which was high fantasy. So I think that's causing some of the issue too. So yeah,
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, Naoki Yoshida, he's a big high fantasy guy, especially since he's the one taking over for Final Fantasy 16,
hmm,
and he's also the lead for Final Fantasy 14 as well
right.
too.
Hmm.
So, and especially considering that he also cut his teeth on Ultima Online as his first MMO,
Oh wow.
that's kind of why I was just like, yeah, not surprised he's going really hard on this whole high fantasy thing.
Yeah. Okay. And really, that the other thing, I think we should talk about one last thing, and it was the fact that PSVR 2 games were shown in this, and no one's talking about it at all.
Yeah, it's really strange too because I know before the state of play, Sony had made this big ordeal saying, "Hey, we're just gonna talk about PSVR and some third party stuff." And the PSVR stuff was mostly just, "Hey, here's a game from one of our um, close third party partners that we're doing a VR mode in," and that was really about it. Not anything super new, like, hey, here's a new vacation simulator or something like that.
Yeah. So, in conclusion, with the state of play, I think the one game that benefited the most from this presentation was Street Fighter 6. It went from being a niche product to fans of fighting games we're definitely going to play to now having a wider audience who is more interested because of the visual presentation that they chose and the way that they showed off the game. Really made an attractive prospect for a bunch of different gamers who, especially now that you've learned about the modern controls and the classic controls that they're implementing, that more people will probably be interested in playing this game. And I think it did the job so well that I honestly, my prediction is this is gonna sell more than Street Fighter V did in its first few months. Because
easily.
I think, and that's what you need, and it's going to do that pretty easily, and all because they blew this out of the water, and with all the leaks that happened, people were still excited after the leaks. So with that, it's like, wow, they can't go wrong here. Like, they would really have to screw something up to get rid of this buzz and this feeling. So they won this one to me.
Oh yeah, and I most certainly agree.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's move on quickly. Wow, really quickly actually. Maybe we could slow down. Maybe we shouldn't. Let's go to Summer Games Fest. Summer Games Fest was this past Thursday. That would be the 9th. So the 9th was Summer Games Fest. It was a good thing that Jeff Keighley managed expectations with this, because this really wasn't a hot one, to be absolutely honest. Yeah, not a lot of some surprises, but not a lot where for people to get really excited by. So let's dig into it. The first thing that we're going to talk about is Callisto Protocol. We mentioned it on the State of Play, but the reason why we're mentioning it here is because they had a more extensive gameplay look. And even though I'm not a fan of horror games per se, even I saw that. Oh, that looks good. That they're doing something good here. And not only did I think it, a lot of people thought it who are into these games and have just basically said, "I'm buying this day one." And that right there was killer. That was a good thing for Callisto Protocol. So I think they did a great job showing off their game.
Yeah, I mean, just the pure gore of it was just like, whoa.
No, it wasn't that bad. I mean, it was gory, sure, but it wasn't like disgusting, you know?
Oh yeah.
So, yeah,
it was just I think the one thing that was just kind of like, wow, holy cow, they are really going into the gore hard, was just sort of the end of the little trailer where just your character just gets ripped up by like a mechanical fan. It was just like, whoa,
yeah,
wow.
Now that we mentioned this, do you have more on Callisto Protocol?
No, just I mean, it looks nice. It's extremely gory, but people who are into Dead Space are kind of into that, so
yeah,
they're probably going to be happy.
It's going to sell well, I think. And especially since it's going to be a October release, I think it's going to sell very well. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, October release, Halloween on the corner. Yeah, that's going to be a no-brainer.
Yeah. We should mention that this Callisto Protocol started off strong. But unfortunately, for the rest of the games that were there, that were space horror and space shooting games, they were smashed together, trailer by trailer, with 5 or 6 other games just like it. We're talking about like Aliens: Dark Descent, Routine, like other games that
Fort Solace.
Like, there were a lot of games that had that theme that was shown off, and I kind of feel bad for them because, first off, they had to contend with such a strong trailer from Callisto Protocol, and then, even if theirs was good, they were then superseded by another shooter, and another horror game, and another, and it was like, wow, really? Are we all doing this right now? So
Yeah. I know I had made a joke about it on my Discord channel, that it was like everyone was copying each other's homework.
yeah, pretty much. And hopefully, the releases are spaced out enough where it's not gonna, hurt them sales wise, but it really hurt them in this presentation to be not only compared with Callisto, but to be smashed together with other ones, to where all of them kind of look the same. Like when we talked about this before we got on, I had a hard time remembering two of them, and there were like seven.
Yeah.
So I like, what was it? It was routine that I had a hard time figuring out, and that sucks. It sucks that you spend money and spend time to do this, only for Summer Games Fest to smash them all into one section. Only at least space them out, I guess. But they didn't do that, so it kind of hurt them in the end. So there. Next one that I think showed well was Witchfire.
Yeah. That one was neat, especially since it was kind of like Old West meets like the Dark Ages.
Yeah.
And just it was just kind of neat just seeing like this this character with like a old timey black powder revolver, also using magic spells and just blowing up demons and things like that.
Now, do we know what type of game it is? Because that's the one thing I didn't get from the trailer was, yeah, it was shooty, it was fast, it had magic, it had guns, but is it a looter shooter or is it just like a Doom style game? I'm not sure what it is.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you either.
Okay, well, there we go.
There really wasn't any like sort of UI to sort of determine what it was and everything.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it looked good, I will say, and I think it will probably gain some wish lists and maybe make some sales in its early access on Steam. So it looked good. I will give it that. What showed very well is our American Arcadia, which can be best described as the Truman Show of the game, essentially, but with a neat art style. So there's that. You want to add anything to that?
I just thought the premise was just kind of fun and entertaining, to be honest. And just kind of like the art style that it's got going for it. It's kind of going for like a sci-fi future meets, I want to say, 70s or 80s sensibilities, maybe.
Yeah, like a 60s version of what the future would have been like in the year 2000. Is what I would think, maybe.
Yeah.
Does that sound about right, or am I off on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right on the money for that one.
Okay. The next trailer that was shown that was interesting was really just for laughs. Really, it was Goat Simulator 3, and mainly just by how funny the actual trailer was. So, I mean, as a game, I could care less, to be completely honest. But I know people who are strangely excited by this game because they liked the first Goat Simulator. So, okay, sure.
Yeah, and well, the fact that they skipped the number 2.
Yeah, okay, that's pretty funny.
And
go ahead.
I think the other big thing is the game is also adding co-op multiplayer.
Yeah,
which is going to be nothing but shenanigans, and I can already see YouTubers and Twitch streamers planning their streams to just get on with their friends and just muck about.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I could see my nephew looking at this and saying he wants this. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that showed well enough. What also showed well, Neon White.
Yeah.
That was the parkour / shooter / card game that's coming out soon, right?
Yeah. Basically, every weapon has a movement mechanic tied to it. So you can either use the movement mechanic, or you can use the card as a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, if you decide to use the movement mechanic, you completely discard the weapon.
Okay.
So, really interesting. I know personally I've been excited for it, so I'll probably end up picking it up when it releases, I believe, this Thursday.
Okay, cool. How much is it? Do you know?
I think it's $25.
That's not bad. That's not bad for that type of game.
Yeah.
the next games that we're going to talk about are the new MiHoYo games. That's the creator of Genshin Impact, and you're going to have to help me with the name. I know
Zero.
Zenless Zone Zero, and Honkai Star Rail, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Did they really even show gameplay on this?
Not really. It was more kind of world building for Honkai Star Rail.
Right.
Though Zenless Zone Zero, they did show some gameplay, and it looked sort of Devil May Cry inspired,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was interesting because a lot of the MiHoYo games that have come out in the recent while have more been um, uh, sort of exploratory RPGs in the vein of Breath of the Wild. So it was kind of interesting for them to show off that Zenless Zero is not another Breath of the Wild style game because if I remember correctly, I think Honkai Star Rail is going to be much more of the same sort of stuff that Genshin Impact is about. So Breath of the Wild style exploration as an RPG, but placed in their little futuristic sort of setting of the Honkai Impact games. So
Yeah.
so that was kind of neat to see just Zenless Zone Zero go for the hey we're gonna go more Devil May Cry with this.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of my thoughts on it. I was like, oh neat. They're not doing yet another RPG.
Yeah. I mean, they look interesting. They definitely do. But from what I've heard of Genshin Impact, it is very heavy on microtransactions and very heavy on you spending money on the game to enjoy it. So,
Well, it's more you can get through the game without paying anything,
okay.
but if you want to really juice up and power up your characters potentially much quicker than a free-to-play player, then that's where you'll be dumping a lot of cash into the loot boxes and stuff.
Okay. Well, we don't know what that's going to entail, so it looked good, and I think people who like MiHoYo games are excited by this. So I've surprisingly haven't seen anything negative about those games being said. So yeah. Next game, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge. Had a release date. It's going to be Thursday on the 16th is when it's going to be released, which was a surprise to a lot of people. They also showed off Casey Jones, so hey, I'm for that. And it's going to have 6-player co-op. And what was there anything else?
Not really. That was announced via Summer Game Fest, but I believe it was after Summer Games Fest. Limited Run Games did announce that they're doing pre-orders for the physical editions and the limited editions of the game, and it's kind of nice if you want to go for the limited edition because the limited edition is apparently coming in a case that is shaped like a VHS tape box.
That's cute. Okay.
Yeah, so kind of neat for anyone who's really, really hardcore into the retro flavor and everything. And then the best part is that the limited edition copies of the game will also come with a Pizza Hut coupon, which is more of a nod to the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle VHS tapes.
That's cute. I actually like that. That's actually pretty cute. Checking the price right now for it. It's gonna be.
I think it's $65 for the limited edition for the limited edition via Limited Run Games.
Okay.
So for anyone who absolutely has to have the retro VHS box kit for the limited edition and then the Pizza Hut coupon, then yeah, $65 is going to be the price point for you.
Yeah. If you're gonna just download it, it's $25. At least on Nintendo, it's $25, which not a bad price. Although we don't know exactly if there's a lot in the game that will want you to keep playing besides just playing the game. So that'll be interested in seeing how that turns out. That showed pretty well. Metal Hellslingers actually showed very well in this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it also had a demo, which helped the cause. So people started playing it and started really liking it, which caused more people to download the demo and play it and like it. So they're going to end up being pretty successful, I think, in this, if they price this right. So, yeah, like Metal Hellsingers actually turned out very well. So...
Yeah, and I know that they had sort of a reminder of all the metal bands and singers from famous metal bands that will be making music for it. And I know one of the big things that they released was a brand new trailer after Summer Games Fest that the singer from a System of a Down actually would be recording something super special for the game, and that got a lot of folks hyped up for it.
Demo is available now. The planned release is September 15th, but no price as of...
Yeah.
Interesting, there's no price to that. Okay. The next one to talk about really is Nightingale, which is a survival game with card mechanics? Is that what...
Well, the card mechanics looked like they were more just to sort of open different portals to different worlds.
Okay.
Because they, in the little trailer that they had, it was like they had set up certain cards, and certain cards would give them like portals to different worlds. At least that was what I could tell from it.
Okay.
Definitely kind of excited for that one, especially since it's got a co-op thing going for it, and just the thought of being able to kind of go co-op and explore with my friends, depending on which worlds they've unlocked and everything, that just seems really fun.
Okay, that's cool. And I haven't heard much about the game, really. I mean, it did show well, I thought, but I'm not seeing a lot of people actually talking much about it, really. So I think they'll probably discuss it more and show more off when it's to its release date. But it showed well, I think.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. The last one from Summer Games Fest was leaked before Summer Games Fest started by Sony, and that was The Last of Us Remake, which we're not going to talk about the multiplayer Last of Us, because that's still in development, and they didn't show much. We're not going to talk about Last of Us HBO, because we are a games podcast, so who the fuck cares? And... I'm kidding. I'm kind of interested. But The Last of Us Remake was shown, and honestly, the response was kind of tepid. There are some who are some are excited by it, and are like, "Oh, can't wait to buy it." But it's a remake that isn't changing the story. It's just a graphical upgrade, and there's an AI upgrade, I think, as well. And it's going to be $70. A lot of people, even people who love The Last of Us, are asking the question of why? Why do we need this? And most are like saying, well, it's a 10-year-old game. Yeah, that's true. But they've released it now. They've released this version twice already. They released it on PS3 towards the end of its cycle. And then 2 years later, they released a remastered version of it for the PS4. Why is this necessary for PS5?
Yeah, I saw some people making memes of it, posting it with covers of Grand Theft Auto 5 and Skyrim.
Yeah, that's true. Oh my god, I hope it doesn't go that way. Although we did joke after it was talked about, like they're gonna re-release Last of Us 2 remake on PS6 in like 6 years. You watch, they will do that. Ugh. I think this it's strange. It showed off well. I mean, it looks good. It does look good. But when people started asking questions, the good buzz wore off pretty quick, because it just went from that looks good to, but wait, do we need this right now? Is this really necessary? I mean, am I really getting that much of an upgrade by just not playing the PS4 version right now? So, and there's been there's a Digital Foundry video showing off the tech. There are people who are showing off photos on Twitter saying, look how much better the hair molecules look on Joel's beard. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not going to care when a zombie's coming after you and trying to eat your brains. It's not That's not going to matter. So, okay, sure, I guess. I think the question they're going to have to answer is this going to be worth $70? And right now, the consensus is no. So they're going to have to do something to either alleviate that fear and be like, no, really, it's worth $70, or they're going to drop that price pretty quick when it comes out.
Oh, yeah.
That's due in September. As for, do you have more to say on that?
Not really. I just feel it's just way too recent of a game to really just get the re-release treatment.
Right. And if I'll say this, if it wasn't remastered for PS4 as soon as the PS4 came out, you might have an argument that this needed a remake. But even then, that's kind of a stretch. But with the remaster and the fact that you can play can't you play the remaster in 60 frames now on the PS5? Didn't they update that?
Yeah, because I believe that there's a performance mode, and when you click that, boom, 60 frames per second.
Yeah. So at that point, it really is a question of what am I gaining from buying this? And if it's just prettier graphics, I don't think a lot of people are going to bite on it. I think they're going to hold off until it's cheap and then buy it for like $30 or $40. So, yeah, I don't know. I looked at that and said it showed off well, but it just did not provide an answer as to why we needed it. So, there. That's my opinion on it. Overall, Summer Games Fest. Just in an overall meta kind of talk about the gaming industry. If E3 is coming back next year, and Summer Game Fest is coming back next year, Summer Games Fest was kind of weak this year, I think. And it's good that Keighley came out there and said, don't expect big announcements, don't expect big surprises. We're talking about a lot of games you already know about, so be prepared. But with that being said, if Xbox is going to have their own thing, and then Sony's going to have their own thing, and then Ubisoft will have their own thing coming up, and Square looks like they're going to do their own thing, and my question is going to be, how much room is there going to be for Summer Games Fest and E3 to do a presentation? Like are they going to be 30-minute to an hour presentations? I mean, it almost seems like that something's going to have to give here, and one of them is going to have to go. And call me crazy, I don't think that's going to be E3, to be completely honest. I think E3 is going to strong arm Summer Games Fest and be like, you're in our space, dude. Even though they've been doing a good job without E3, but I don't know. Like I after this, I was like, wow, that was kind of weak. So I don't know. What did you think?
It'll be interesting to see how this proceeds, especially with E3 or the ESA saying that E3 will proceed next year and will happen both in person and online. So I'll be interested to see if either Summer Games Fest gets something going on, or hell, E3 ends up soliciting to Jeff Keighley and saying, "Hey, how about you run the online show portion of it or whatever?"
At that point, I'd say, go fuck yourself. like, really?
Yeah.
Like, I have my own thing. Why would I run your E3? Unless you want to buy off Summer Games Fest, then sure. Then I'll take millions of dollars, please, and I'll run your E3 for 2 years. Sure, we can do that. That actually might work out for him. Huh. Well, okay. So overall, Summer Game Fest kind of weak. But really, they showed some decent titles. But yeah, weak. Anyway, the next one is Devolver. Devolver had a 30-minute presentation. They're up to their usual hijinks. Not as funny as previous years, but that doesn't really matter. What was strong was the games they showed, I think. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Like, they showed off 4 games, and each one of them I'm interested in. We'll start with Cult of the Lamb, which is how to describe this? It's a it's a cutesy occult. Is it a survival game? Or it's a roguelike, isn't it?
It's a roguelike and survival game because it had kind of like a city building element.
Yes. Okay, that's right. Yeah. So like, it looks good, but yeah, it looks good. It showed off well, and it's coming in August, I think. So that's going to be interesting. More to add?
Not really, since
Yeah.
it just looks pretty solid, and it just looks like it'll be a lot of fun for people who enjoy roguelikes and things like that.
Okay. The next one, which I was surprised at how much I liked, was Angerfoot, which could be best described as a silly first-person view version of Hotline Miami. So,
Oh yeah.
and it looks good. It actually looks like a lot of fun. So, it showed a limited gameplay trailer, but what they showed was solid. So, and is there a demo
Yeah.
of that?
I believe so.
Well, let's
I
find out.
think.
Let's find out. Angerfoot is on the Summer Next Fest on Steam, so yeah, you can definitely download the demo. I might do that later. Okay.
Yeah, I think that one was just absolutely silly because like you just see yourself just jump kicking dudes in the face and everything,
Yeah.
and it's just absolutely crazy. And then of course, just to kind of emphasize how much of a douche weasel your main character is, they have a scene of him rolling down the street in his car with a giant ass vape, just vaping it up in his car.
Yeah.
I was just like, wow, they're really, really trying to tell you that the main character is not a cool dude.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that showed off well. What was my game of this presentation, and might have been the game of the day, was the Plucky Squire, which showed off at first to be a 2D platforming game set inside of a book, and that look right there was just like, oh, that is cute. That looks really cool. I can't wait to play that. And then they surprise you with allowing you to jump out of the book into a 3D world, and right there, it sold me. I was like, wow, I need to play this. So I'm really excited for the Plucky Squire.
Yeah, a lot of people sort of said it was like a link between worlds, but kind of topsy-turvy.
Yeah. Like, it was one of those things at first I was like, oh, it's a quaint little cute thing. I can play that. That seems cool. And it went from that to, oh, I got to play this because this looks awesome. Because if they're gonna do something creative with that, and I hope they do, it could be a very interesting game. Anything else to add on that?
No, just I'm much like you and the rest of my friends on my Discord server that this is one game that I will have to get my hands on.
Yeah, and that would have been my game of the day if it wasn't for the next game that was shown, which is Skate Story, which looks fucking fantastic. I still can't believe how that looks and sounds. I mean, for if you haven't seen the trailer, and you should, it's a game that looks like everyone's made of glass, and it's got this really vibing soundtrack to it, and it's a skateboarding game. And
Yeah,
go ahead.
it's funny because pretty much the trailer leads off with it. You're a demon made out of glass and pain.
And and the way the trailer looks and feels and the sounds and everything works so well. Like I want to see more about. Like, it's funny. I want to see more, but I kind of don't because I just want to play the damn game. So I got out of that being really excited about that game and really wanted to play it. So, and I think I'm not the only one who thinks this. So I think this showed off really well, and the Plucky Squire too did. Like, I think those two showed off the best and are probably going to make huge sales for Devolver. Like, those are the really good looking, really interesting games. So
Yeah, and it'll be really interesting because apparently the premise is you're this demon trying to escape out of hell to get back to the real world and just keep skateboarding.
yeah.
All right, so
Hey,
the next
wait,
show-
wait. What are you doing?
Yeah. So, the next show was this past
You
Sunday.
ballsy bastard! Oh my god, you're taking over.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, I'll sit and take it. Go ahead.
So, the next show was this past Sunday with the Xbox Bethesda showcase,
Yes.
and um, the big thing that I will prelude with this is uh, Xbox's Phil Spencer had a really good choice on how to set this particular presentation up, which was he wanted to make sure that the games revealed in this actually had gameplay. So very bold
Yes.
move for him to start off with that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And then the first game that was kicked off to kick off this thing was Redfall, the one of the two games that Bethesda had to announce a delay for,
Mm-hmm.
and just honestly, it looked fun, and it's kind of funny too because just the impression that most of the world got was just uh, it looked like sort of a hero shooter style Left 4 Dead style game,
Mm-hmm.
but we'll get into some of the post presentation thoughts that uh came out of the reveal and everything.
Yeah. I did feel that way as well, and I'm not a fan of Left 4 Dead. So when it came in there, when it showed off, and it was a Left 4 Dead game, I was like, it looked like a Left 4 Dead style game. I was like, oh, that looks good, but I'm not interested. I'm not interested in that type of game, but I'll definitely try it. It looked good. I thought the way the trailer was shown, it kind of seemed like that the characters were dynamically storytelling to a certain extent, but I don't know if that exactly is going on in the game. Like they were having dialogue with each other and talking about certain things dynamically. I don't know if that was just to make the trailer look better or if that's really a feature in the game. So I was not sure how to take that really. So
Yeah,
um,
and I was a bit wondering that myself too. But what was interesting, sort of post show, was apparently one of the developers from Arcane Austin had came out and had said that they were kind of sad that people had thought that the game was basically Left 4 Dead with vampires,
mhm.
and the clarification he made was that this game is more going to be a looter shooter, which was interesting because they didn't show any of the looting and shooting in the game at all. It
Yeah,
was just
not at
kind of
all.
a yeah. So here you are with your other co-op buddies just blowing shit up.
Yeah, and I was surprised to hear that too, but that made me more excited for the game. But then, if my question is then, if this is supposed to be a looter shooter, why not have that in the original trailer? I mean, why not have someone saying, "Hey, look, orange drop here," or "Hey, look, a new gun, and this does fire damage," or something like that. Like hint towards it somehow, and they didn't. So it's kind of their fault that people thought it was a Left 4 Dead style game because clearly that's what it looked like. Like they literally showed hordes of vampires coming after people and them going into different positions and shooting, and then having different monsters come out that they have to take care of. So I don't see why they're surprised that people were confused by that. So even though it was confusing, it looked good. So they got lucky there, I
Yeah.
guess.
So that leads us into one thing that was a major surprise for everybody, which was um, Team Cherry's Hollow Knight Silk Song,
Yeah.
which that one was surprising because I believe it was the night before I saw that somebody who had inside knowledge of the Xbox presentation had said that, hey, it's going to be revealed tomorrow. And of course, like usual, I kind of said to myself, yeah, I'll believe that when pigs fly.
Yeah. Of course.
And sure enough, boom, here we are.
Yeah. And it's okay to think that because how many times have we heard at a Nintendo Direct or at a State of Play that, oh, Silk Song's going to be there? Like, yeah, sure. Like, sure it is, pal. Yeah, we'll see. And it's never there. And here's Xbox with whipping their dick out, going, yeah. Not only is it here, it's second. Boom, and I'm like, holy crap! What else do you got? So,
Yeah. And interestingly enough, it is going to be playable day one on Xbox Game Pass, and that's another thing that I should make clear about the Xbox presentation. Um, Definitely a lot of emphasis by Microsoft, saying, "Hey, all the stuff that we're showing here that's being shown off, it will be playable on Game Pass." So just really great way for them to emphasize the value of Game Pass.
yes, absolutely, I agree. And it not only emphasizes the value of Game Pass, it actually just shows that, well, that they are able to get third party, like respected third party developers to join in on that, get onto that service to make it more viable for someone to say, maybe there's a month that is kind of weak, that they'll stay with that month because next month there's going to be something third party wise that I will enjoy. So that's excellent business sense on their end. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and that brings us into another thing that was sort of a really, really significant announcement, and that was the partnership with Riot Games.
Yes, my God, this was shocking to an extent, because this caused me to have a couple of questions about why, but this is really going to change some things, I think, especially for Riot Games. So go ahead and talk about what exactly was announced.
So basically, just Riot Games will be partnering up with Xbox and in regards to Game Pass. But what this partnership will entail is for League of Legends, you'll get every single character free, and then in Legends of Runeterra, you'll get the Foundation set for free, and Valorant, you will get the all the heroes for free. And then Teamfight Tactics, you'll also get all of the heroes for free. And also on the mobile space, for League of Legends Wild Rift, you'll get all the characters for free.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop there. In addition to getting all the characters free for Teamfight Tactics, League of Legends, Wild Rift, and Valorant, all future characters will be free as long as you're a Game Pass subscriber.
Yeah.
So huge news, and a great way to get new players into those games and immediately caught up.
Absolutely. It answers a couple of questions about the business model when it came to League of Legends and with Riot Games. And I guess the question was always, where is Riot where is Riot really making their money? Because they make gobs of money with League of Legends. And a lot of people thought, well, it's because you have to pay for each what do you call it, each character in order to play the game, which technically is true, but you can still do it free to play. But I guess the answer really is that they make their money on skins. So as long as they're able to sell their skins with all these characters, this is probably a good deal for them, because that means more people will play different characters and want to get different skins for those characters. So this could be a really, really good business partnership for Riot Games. Not that they need it, but like this went from surprising to this is actually really smart. So yeah.
Yeah, and I saw some people speculating that this would be a great way to sort of promote their Game Pass business in the rare event that the Activision Blizzard deal just falls through.
Isn't Riot Games a Tencent company now?
Correct, they are.
So that means they're partnering with Tencent with game. That's big. I didn't realize that. Oh my God, that's big. One of the biggest companies in the world right now is Tencent. And they got a contract to have Riot Games on Game Pass, and to not only have them on there, but to not raise the price of Game Pass in order to get them. That's big. That's wow. Okay.
Yeah. And in my mind, on thinking about that speculation, it gives them a foothold a little further into the Chinese market because League of Legends is and games similar to it are huge in China still.
Right.
So great way for just anyone um, uh, who's who hasn't even started League of Legends or any of the other Riot games. They can immediately just kind of get in with Game Pass, get all the characters, and start joining up their friends and everything.
Right. Okay. I mean, again, huge business deal. I don't see a lot of people talking about it, but I think you're going to find that in the next year or so, when this is going on, that sales for Riot games are going to be really, really popping. They're going to be big. So this could be a huge deal, especially when Project L comes out. Because if Project L comes out and that's on Game Pass, oh my God, is that going to be a huge deal? So we'll see. I mean that sounds that's a big deal to me. Like I'm looking at that as the honestly that is probably the biggest announcement from this from all of this not E3 thing is that right that this business deal because it really changes the thought process that these companies are having when it comes to Game Pass. Because like Game Pass has been an Xbox thing. You have an Xbox Series X, you need Game Pass. But now, even though there are games on PC that you can play on Game Pass, fewer people are actually doing that. But now, with something as big as League of Legends, you're going to have a whole other customer base coming in to buy Game Pass to get all those characters. That's huge.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And especially with like you had mentioned, the potential for just people wanting to get skins for their favorite characters and everything.
Yeah.
That's going to be huge because instead of having to go, all right, I guess I'm going to have to grind for the next 3 months to earn this one character I want to try, and and then having to deal with the possibility that hey, maybe the character that you ended up grinding 3 months for is just not one of your favorite characters to play.
Yeah.
Instead, you're just getting all the characters from the get-go,
Hmm.
and you can immediately just go, okay, like this one, okay, don't like this one. And then when you find the one you like, you can just go, okay, yeah, I really want to just, I just want to play this one character, and I love this character. Now I got to have all the skins for this character.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that. Like I said, I would not be the slightest bit surprised if we find out Riot makes tons and tons of money and has a big year next year because of this. I'd be shocked if that did not happen. So, there.
Yeah. So
Okay.
next after Riot Games was the reveal of Forza Motorsport. So instead of just kind of going with a numbered iteration, they're apparently just rebooting the series as a whole.
Right.
And this one was pretty big for me as a racing game fan, especially since the last Forza Motorsport was so long ago, and that was Forza Motorsport 7. And unfortunately, the reception for that one was not good, mostly because of just how aggressive and predatory the monetization in Forza Motorsport 7 was.
Yes. And I ended up buying it after all that was kind of fixed. And it was a solid game. It was actually a pretty fun game, but yeah, the bad buzz and bad word of mouth because of the monetization, not only from 7, but 6 actually as well, that really soiled a lot of people's feelings on that. But because they had Forza Horizon, the Forza brand is not damaged at all because of it. So like people have kind of forgotten about motorsport, essentially. So
Yeah,
um,
and
I got
what? Go ahead.
I got a question for you. Now
Yeah.
you play GT7.
Yes.
Um, are you more excited to play Forza now after GT7, or are you looking at that and saying, they're kind of the same. I could go without. I mean, what are your feelings as compared to GT7?
So, GT7 has been filled with its own complications. A lot of it has been just sort of um, just how Polyphony Digital has been managing the game. Um, but that's a discussion I could get on its own tangent. But
Right.
um, the I think really the big thing that really has me curious on this new reboot of Forza Motorsport is just the fact that they're just going really, really hard into the sim angle. They're just like, hey, we've got brand new calculations, we've got brand new ways to just really, really get you immersed into the game, and just all this really, really sort of interesting calculation related stuff. And I think one of the big ones was um, the real time ray tracing,
Hmm.
because with Gran Turismo, with Gran Turismo 7, if you want to play with ray tracing, you have to play it in 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
Versus if you want it with 60 frames per second, then then you do not get the ray tracing effect and everything.
Right.
So just kind of really interesting for them to go into the whole, hey, you can play this at 60 frames per second, and ray tracing and all these sorts of like real-time calculations for damage and all sorts of other insane stuff.
Hmm.
So I thought it was kind of interesting for them to go real hard into the sim racing angle. But thankfully, since it's going to be free on Game Pass, I'll be able to check it out and decide whether or not I want to buy in, or if I just want to just kind of um, go and just keep playing it for free on Game Pass.
Yeah. I mean, I looked at the gameplay and looked at like the presentation, and it looked good. But I often question I add the question of, does this really look different than Gran Turismo? Like I looked at that and said, maybe I should if I'm really digging this, should I just play Gran Turismo? And that's my question, because I prefer the gameplay of Forza more, but if I have that itch, I'm looking at this and going, yeah, but I could play Gran Turismo, so I don't know. So I don't know. It looks good. I think I don't know if that's going to sell very well, but it looked good for what it was, and that's next year, right?
Yeah, spring of 2023.
Okay.
So, going into the next game, um, Overwatch 2 was sort of dropped to the world, and the announcement that the PvP portion of the game would be going free to play.
Now wait a minute. Hold on. You said the multiplayer version is going free to play?
Yeah, the multiplayer portion of the game is going free to play.
Okay, okay. Because there's some confusion that people are thinking that the entire game is free to play. Which, when I heard that, I was like, no, that's not right. that's not
Yeah.
happening. From what it sounds like, they're gonna make the single player like in chapters, like they do in, I think it's Hearthstone. They do that, where the single player content you have to pay for.
Yep. Where basically just um, I forget how much they ask, but yeah, just uh, there is there is like a charge of, I think in Hearthstone it's like $20 for one of the single player chapters.
Yeah,
At least that's what I remember it being. So there's no telling on how big or expensive the PvE story mode is going to be. So um, I would hate to say $20 and then it ends up being like a really, really large story thing going on, and it ends up being like, oh yeah, well, we're since the story's so huge, we're gonna charge like $40, and for me to go, whoops, I predicted that one wrong.
yeah. I mean, I'm of the mindset it's probably gonna be 40. And I don't think it has to be big for them to charge 40. I think all they have to do is have maybe a 5-hour campaign and give you some unlockables, and then that's it. That's all they have to do.
Yeah,
So, yeah. I think it's interesting as going free to play, and I think that's the right move, because you want to have as much people as possible playing the game. But the real question is the game interesting enough to not only bring old fans back into playing the game, but to get new people interested? Because if old fans were saying it's not as good, I doubt new fans are going to come in. So they've got some work ahead of them. So
Yeah, and the talk from people who are in the current PC Open beta right now has been that it really doesn't feel like a sequel. It feels kind of more like something that they should have just called it a patch.
yeah,
And I think one of the best ways that people put it is this isn't Overwatch 2. This is more like Overwatch 1.5.
right. Which I guess is a good thing that they're doing free to play on this. Because if you charged $70 for this multiplayer game, I doubt people would have bought it. So, okay. I mean, good on them for recognizing that and making it free to play, so they have a large swath of people playing. But yeah, they've got a lot of work ahead of them to get more sales.
All right. This one goes into something that I know you sort of averted your eyes to
Ugh.
since this kind of went into Cronenberg film
Oh,
territory.
yeah, yeah.
It was the game Scorn. Scorn was shown off in its absolutely gory detail. Um, for anyone who's not familiar, just this game has a sort of H.R. Geiger sort of body horror and stuff like that, and it's real disgusting looking. Just your main character's like ripping stuff out of them, and there's just blood and guts and just viscera everywhere. Looks real gruesome, and um, they did talk about it a little bit more on the PC game show that it's not really a shooter; it's kind of more like a stealth adventure game. So I don't know uh, how it'll fare, but thankfully, since it's going to be free on Game Pass, at least people will be able to check it out and see if it's for them or not.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you're into this, it's like if you're into body horror and you're into watching really gory, really disgusting horror movies, yeah, this is going to be for you. But to be absolutely honest, I couldn't watch it. So as soon as they showed one part, I was like, yeah, I'm turning away. So
Yeah.
I do. The thing is, not many people are talking about it. So I think this is not going to get it that much sales. I think Callisto is going to eat its lunch. So, I just sit eat its lunch and talk about this. Ew.
Yeah, and I hate to be pessimistic, but yeah, I think I'm in agreement with you that I think Callisto Protocol is just gonna just wipe the floor with it.
Yeah.
So a pity for it because it looks absolutely disgusting and interesting at the same right, but yeah, just I'm sorry, just Callisto Protocol has really got it in lock.
This will be in hidden gem videos on YouTube when they talk about this in 5 years. I think
Oh yes,
this will be one of those
guaranteed.
games like you may have missed this, but it's actually pretty killer. And here comes Metal Jesus Rocks, and he's like, "Oh, it's so disgusting, and I got long hair, yeah." And I love Metal Jesus, but yeah, okay, go ahead.
So, um, then to kind of give something to give some people some uplifting eye bleach, Minecraft Legends was shown off.
I don't know about that. um, no one's talking about it. No one in the gamer circles on Twitter and on other sites are talking about this. But this will sell big. I mean, Dungeons sold pretty well because Minecraft is a huge game, and I told my nephew who's into Minecraft, "Hey, this is coming out," and immediately he's interested because it's Minecraft. So, yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna sell well. I don't think it's gonna be one of those games that's gonna light the gaming industry on fire, but it's gonna sell well. So,
Yeah, I mean, Minecraft has always been sort of an evergreen franchise, so yeah, this will just sell well, and that'll be that.
yeah, okay. Yeah.
So, and then kind of going into more neat indie sort of things. The last case of Benedict Fox was shown off, and this one I kind of had a lot of interest in, especially since it had sort of a Ori and the Blind Forest Metroidvania feel to it.
Hmm.
And the art style looks really nice and everything. And uh, as much as I hate saying it, I'm a big sucker for Metroidvanias, so this one is definitely kind of in my scope.
It's funny. I watched the trailer again, and I kind of got more of an out of this world flashback vibe than I got a Metroidvania vibe. Are we sure that's a Metroidvania?
It looked like a Metroidvania because
I
there were
agree.
like portions where the main character got more powers to explore like certain different parts of the game and everything. And like one of the portions was like where there was a giant pit, and then he sort of kind of grew like this spectral tentacle arm sort of thing
Hmm.
to kind
Okay.
of cross that pit and everything. So
Okay.
yeah, it definitely looks like a Metroidvania styled game.
Okay. Okay. I do agree to a certain extent, but I just watched it again, and I'm like, I'm getting different vibes from it, but I understand where you're coming from.
So so yeah, not much to say there other than yeah, I'll be looking into it. Um, and then that leads us to a game that had some very interesting, um, very interesting aesthetic style,
Hmm.
and that would be Pentiment
Yes.
by Obsidian of all places.
Yeah. Absolutely. It looked like a God. How did you describe this? Like the art style you would see in, let's say, medieval times, like in a parchment kind of way. I would say, or
Yeah, kind of like a woodblock print book,
yeah.
but also it was kind of neat in the trailer because when you had multiple characters speaking, you saw like different styles of handwriting show up for like the different characters. Because like there was one part where there was kind of like a group of people saying no, we object, and when you see the word object, it's being handwritten in like all sorts of different styles,
Hmm.
which I thought was really interesting. I was just like, okay, that's kind of interesting, just you're kind of going real heavy with this whole like woodblock print um, combined with like hand scribed books from the Middle Ages and everything.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like to be a small game, but it definitely has a very interesting art style. So that if you haven't seen it, check it out. Um, I don't know. Not a lot of people are talking about it really, but I think it will be. I think those who are interested in different types of games might be interested in that. An Obsidian joint, which is interesting.
Yeah, and unfortunately, some of the buzz on the game sort of went sideways because uh, it was either the director or producer, I forget who exactly, but they had mentioned that they were quite inspired um, by Disco Elysium. So unfortunately, people completely misunderstood this poor person
Yeah.
and had gone, oh, so it's just going to be, just heavy on narrative, and it's just going to be just choices upon choices upon choices. Okay, that's interesting. And then the person had to go and clarify himself and say, hey, when I say inspired by Disco Elysium, I mean that just uh, I quite liked the fact that it was a narrative focused game, and this game is narrative focused, but um, also the game's also got its own personality too.
Hmm. Right. Which, yeah, some people just have to. I think you say touch grass once in a while, but
Yeah.
they really need to calm themselves down to when developers are talking about their game. So yeah, I don't know.
Um, and then one of the biggies that was revealed was the final class for Diablo 4, and then some more sort of gameplay montages while sort of um, an overview of the lore building for Diablo 4.
Yes, this turned out. before we get to the criticisms, because the criticisms are kind of unfair, but I understand why there's criticisms. The game looks fantastic. The gameplay is interesting. The gameplay hooks and the differences they're making are interesting. They're making it open world instead of instance based, and the game looks fantastic. It looks really good for what it is. So just on that alone, on looking at gameplay and what they're doing different is exciting. It looks like something I'd be really interested in.
Yeah, and I think, like you had mentioned just now, just the fact that they're going for a more open world design versus just the usual Act One, Act Two, Act Three, Act Four sort of hubs
Yeah.
is a humongous change.
Right.
So I wonder if it may allow for freedom on how you decide to challenge bosses in different zones, or if it's still going to be sort of a linear experience,
That's a good
as
question.
it's been traditionally been for most Diablo games.
That's a good question. Yeah, it would be interesting if they go the Elden Ring route where you just go anywhere and see how that goes. But I think it will be probably more linear than really. I think the open world will just be, hey, no loading, and that pretty much is it. I don't think it's
Yeah.
going to be. I don't think it's going to be a huge open world where you can do anything you want. So, but I don't know about you. I thought it showed off really well, which is sad because the talk about it has been tepid, and that's mainly because of Diablo Immortal.
Oh yeah, and it's a damn shame too because I know one of the big questions that came up via a Twitter thread was somebody had asked one of the Blizzard social media team guys, "Hey, so what's your monetization plan for Diablo 4?" And I believe it was the social media manager had came out and said, "Hey, so our plan for Diablo 4 is we're just going to uh, purely keep the monetization cosmetics, so just custom skins and stuff that you can buy for your favorite character class.
Yeah,
That's really going to be the bulk of where the monetization is going to come from."
yeah,
And kind of like I had mentioned in my Discord server, I'll believe that when the rubber hits the road.
right. And I agree with you there. They can change that when it's due out in March. I think they can change that at any point in time, or they could also say, yeah, monetization via battle pass, and then you'd be like, oh great, I'm gonna have to grind the battle pass in order to get the garb I want. Awesome, sounds great. Thanks.
Yeah.
So that's still an open answer where it can be changed at any time. Kind of like what the talk about was like. I thought you said. I think the person from Diablo Immortal first said we're not going to have people grind for gear or have gear selectable. Have gear to be something you have to pay for, but gems didn't count as gear for some reason, which was like that's gear. What are you talking about? But
Yeah, it was like really weasel worded sort of language on that. So, yeah, that's where I kind of have concerns with Diablo 4 and and this whole initial statement of, oh, it'll be cosmetic only. Okay, well, and the battle pass fear that you mentioned is exactly what I'm concerned about. That I'm just concerned it'll be, oh, hey, so you want sweet cosmetics? Well, yep. So this one cosmetic is going to be battle pass only, and you have to upgrade to the premium version because you will not get it with the free version of the battle pass.
right. Um, I'm interested in Diablo 4, but I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm not like even I can admit the game looked great what they showed off, but just with Diablo Immortal and what they're doing and how Blizzard is now, I'm really leery as to what they're gonna do.
Yeah, and the same. So, enough on kind of lamenting on Blizzard stuff for a bit.
Hmm.
Uh, the next reveal was by Koei Tecmo, and it was really interesting. Um, it was a game called Fallen Dynasty,
Yeah,
and what's interesting is it's a Neo Dark Souls kind of game, but apparently one of the things that the the lead developer from Koei Tecmo, had talked about with I believe it was Eurogamer today because of the Xbox extended showcase
Hmm.
event that they had this afternoon. Was that Wolong is also going to have sort of a battlefield component on top of being a Dark Souls style game. And that got a lot of people's curiosity going because in the interview with I believe Eurogamer, one of the things that they sort of made an example of was that uh, morale will play an important part in the game because if let's say you go up against a major boss and you end up dying at the boss, then your army's morale will drop because you took a death.
Yeah.
But if you end up if you end up just killing this boss, then you'll get a morale boost for your army. And the reason that it's kind of interesting additionally is the fact that the game, according to the lead for from Koei Tecmo, is that this game takes place during the Chinese Three Kingdoms era Warring States period,
Hmm.
but in particular, it's going to be focused around the time period of the Yellow Turban Rebellion. So
Hmm.
Lu Bu is going to be involved in this, and I
Ooh.
know that was who was teased at the end of the Xbox trailer with sort of his trademark helmet and everything. So um, definitely going to be curious to see how this one develops and everything, and especially since um, it looks like just since Xbox is going to be a really into this. It'll be sort of interesting to see how it all shapes up. Um, to clarify, Wolong Fallen Dynasty is coming to multiple platforms because I believe the embargo for promoting it on PlayStation just broke. So the PlayStation YouTube channel got a trailer for it.
Okay.
But it's interesting that it seems like Microsoft will be getting the bulk of the marketing for it.
Hmm. Okay. I mean, it looks interesting. Not sure if I'm not sure if it's going to sell well because that's just another Dark Souls now. So I think with Elden Ring out now and how that turned out, I think people are going to look for more of that than they're going to look for Dark Souls. So
Yeah.
it looks interesting. I'm interested. So yeah.
And this one was kind of an interesting and very welcome surprise. Um, Persona 3 Portable, Persona 4 Golden, and Persona 5 Royal were all given one hell of a reveal that they are coming to Xbox.
Yes. Big deal. Big deal because and it's a big deal for two reasons. One, people have been asking for those games on other platforms, specifically PC, which is coming to PC, but they've been asking for that. And what was my second point? Shit.
Well, I can talk a bit
Go ahead.
until the point comes back in mind. The thing is just it's great to see Microsoft really making good on just their sort of extending an olive branch to Japanese developers because
Yes.
for so long, just it was always is the one thing that you could count on people to troll Xbox on would be har har, no Japanese games, losers, you're missing out on the best RPGs. And here's Sega and Xbox working together to make sure that um, you can now play the Persona games on Xbox.
And you just put up what I was about to say, which basically this is going to mean that Persona is probably going to be multi-console now because this will sell well, and Sony and I mean, not Sony and Sega and Atlas are going to be like, well, why don't we put this everywhere then if it's going to sell well? And they're going to do it, and that means a stronger fan base for Persona. So that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah, I know one of my local friends, she said that she'll be triple dipping in some cases for some of these Persona games, and
Yes.
in the case of Royal, she'll actually be double dipping.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just they've already got Persona fans just right at the throat. So just all they need to do is just keep the momentum up, and just the money will follow.
Right. Absolutely. So yeah, this is nothing but great news. Except for console warriors who feel like they've been betrayed for some stupid reason, but who cares about them?
Yeah. And to kind of clarify for anyone who's wondering if these remastered versions coming to Xbox will be coming to other platforms, the day after Sega Atlas did uh, post up post up news that these will be coming out to PS5 and PC. So um, if you were worried, then you have absolutely no reason to worry.
Hmm.
All right, so last game for the Xbox showcase, and this was quite a big one, was Starfield.
Mm-hmm. Now,
And
this was important because of the delay that happened. Uh, like, it was important for this to not only be here, but to show well. So let's talk about that.
yeah, absolutely huge showing, and just I mean, in my mind, it looked fun. I know some folks were kind of another opinion, but just overall, I thought it just looked fun. Todd Howard, as usual, making some big promises.
Mm-hmm.
But what else is new?
Yeah, and he might have
This,
he might have shot himself in the foot with what he's promising too. So
yeah, 1,000 explorable planets.
yeah, like there are so many people on my timeline that are talking about this, and some of them are saying that sounds awesome. The modding potential is awesome if there is going to be modding in this game, but most of them are saying that's way too much. That's I no, that sounds way too daunting. No, please no. So yeah,
Yeah, I don't see modding as a thing in this game. There might be a creative club for
yeah,
sure, but that's because at that point, Bethesda can kind of control what is permissible and what is not.
yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if this was announced to be an always online game, even though it's single player.
Yeah. Um, I know some folks had complaints on the gunplay. I thought it looked all right, especially considering just, in my opinion, just how terrible the gunplay in Fallout 4 is.
Yeah, it needs work. It definitely needs a little bit of work. Maybe more ways to recognize you hit somebody to make that feel a little more visceral. It looks okay. I didn't get off of that going, ugh. I went that going, yeah, it's okay. It's fine.
Yeah,
But I don't. God.
I kind of looked at it and was just like, hey, look, they got some tutoring from id on how to make shooting feel better.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Um, I will say that the quote unquote gameplay, which is the shooting, is probably the weakest part of this entire trailer. Um, other than that, I mean, you'll go into it more with what they showed. So,
Yeah, I think really, kind of, one of the interesting opinions I've heard is, um, it seems like a return to form, and that's because of one thing that they did show in this little gameplay showcase.
hmm
It was during the character creation process. In the character creation process, they showed that when you build your character, you can choose your character's background.
hmm.
So, like one of the example backgrounds um, was like a ballistics expert, and it gave you some bonuses for firearms usage. So things like guns, rifles, and the creation of ammunition, you got bonuses for. And then on top of that, the other thing that was interesting in the character creator was the fact that you could give your characters personalities. So things like introverted, extroverted. Um, s- I'm probably forgetting some of the others that were there, but just the fact that you could go really, really deep into just picking three personality flaws that your character has
hmm
to set them up, and that could potentially alter your interactions with other characters. A lot of people said that both this background story thing uh, and the character flaws harkens back to kind of like the days of Oblivion, even. So for some people, they felt that just this reveal alone was sort of a return to form.
The feeling I get from this is the same feeling I get with every Todd Howard led game from Bethesda, is that they promise so much, and then they have to start paring down things. Um,
Yeah,
like the thing that, like, once they we didn't talk about this yet. Once they showed off space flight, was, I'm like, okay, come on, like what are we doing here? Really, you're gonna have dogfighting too? Wow. Okay. Um. I,
yeah. I think to your point about just Bethesda just kind of going grand with their promises. The one thing that I think a lot of people have gotten a lot of, I guess, PTSD over is just the promise of 1,000 explorable planets.
yes. No. Absolutely.
Because, I mean, for anyone who may have had a short memory, Fallout 76 had promised to be a game 16 times the size, the scale of Skyrim,
Yeah.
which Skyrim was an absolutely humongous game.
Yeah. But did that even? Did Fallout 76 deliver on that promise? Because I don't hear a lot of people saying it's huge. I hear a lot.
Oh,
Yeah, I didn't think so. So, um, you know what? The first thought I like, aside from saying it looks all right, it looks good. The first thought that I got from Starfield was, this is going to get delayed again.
yeah. And it's it's going to be interesting to see how this one pans out because um, I think the base building and base management stuff just looked tons better than it did in Fallout 4.
Yes, absolutely. Like this is a good showing, but it was a rough showing too. And the rough parts were the gameplay, it was the shooting, it was the moving, it was like seeing things dip from 30 to 24 to 20 frames per second. Like it's clear that we'll put it this way, it is clear that this game needed to be delayed. But could they really fix all that in 9 months? I'm not sure, especially since how big this game is. So instead of it shutting people up and saying, "Oh, it's time to be excited," it just made people ask more questions. So as good of a showing as this was, like, it proved that there's a game and they have a good skeleton and that they have something here. I think a lot of people it's more, there's more people on the fence, I think, than have a definitive answer. Because a lot of people are like, I don't know about this. Like, it looks all right, but there's clearly issues. So, is this going
Yeah,
to be a game that they sell in March, but then after they sell, say, oh, we're going to continue to update this, don't worry, like they did with Cyberpunk? Or are they going to say, no, we need to delay it again to fix all the stuff and make it look better? So,
yeah, that's going to be hard to say, but yeah, just overall, it looked fun enough, and since it's on Game Pass again, just um, it'll be, at least for me, it'll be I'll be able to try it and go, okay, needs a little more time in the oven. I guess I'll come back in 6 months and try it again. Or if it ends up being as grand and as great as Todd Howard makes claims that it'll be, then
yeah.
cool. Just maybe I'll just go all out and get the premium edition.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, overall, the Xbox showing was strong, I thought. And what it didn't do everything that everyone wanted it to. What it showed is it had a strong 2023, but a very weak 2022. So the criticism of there are no games this year is still correct. There really aren't any games this year. But next year is going to be very interesting. So I still think it's a strong showing.
Yeah, and I feel as the same as well too, especially with just sort of reminding folks, hey, so the stuff that that we have coming out in the future will be available on Game Pass. Kind of a strong way to say, hey, just um, stick with us. We've got really good things to come.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can try these things out before, just going, yeah, sure, I guess I'll buy it, is kind of a nice perk to have from Game Pass. All right, so to close out things, the last major presentation was the PC Gamer PC Game Show. Um,
Yeah.
there was a lot in here, so but unfortunately for brevity, we're just going to stick with the things that either we thought were neat or had a lot of buzz.
Yes.
So to kick things off, this one was a personal pick from me that I thought was neat, was Tactical Breach Wizards.
Mm-hmm.
And this one seemed like it was a Into the Breach style strategy game. But the premise is that you're a squad of Black Ops wizards. So wizards who are trained with firearms and stuff like that. And you use sort of your arcane powers in combination with your firearms to sort of dismantle the threat and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And just the fact that the game also had sort of a rewind function was really nice to see, because I'll be the first to admit I'm not an ace at strategy games, and the ability to rewind things is great.
Yeah. That's been a common feature in most strategy games now, but most of them don't do it that intelligently. If they do it well in this, then all for it. So yeah, sounds good. It looked interesting to me.
Okay, so this one was more interesting mostly because the gameplay trailer was a whopping 15 minutes, and that was a game called The Invincible. And it's kind of I guess, walking simulator sort of a thing.
Yeah, I'm not
At least,
sure.
yeah, at least that was kind of what I could ascertain from it.
It's from 11-bit, and yeah, that's the main thing. Like, we're watching this. We watched it together with a bunch of people on our Discord, and absolutely no one could be like, "Well, what is this game?" And we kind of couldn't get a good grasp in it, and that's after 15 minutes of gameplay. So it's like, okay, it looks interesting, but how can you give someone 15 minutes of gameplay and not give a good grasp of what the game is? That's crazy to me. So I don't know. Or maybe I didn't pay attention that well. I'll even admit that. But
Yeah, I can say I paid attention to the whole 15 minutes, and even I was still sort of left confused. So
okay,
you're not the only one.
okay. No one's talking about it. We just thought it was interesting that they spent so much time on this game, and I'm not hearing anything on it really. So
Yeah. So, and also kind of what was funny about this PC game show was the fact that for calling it the PC game show, there were a lot of games that were being shown off with mentions that they were also coming out to PS5, PS4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, or Switch even.
yeah, and it was really surprising too that not any talk about Steam Deck, because you would think, and we talked about this in the Discord, the reason maybe why that is. But you would think that, especially with them prominently showing the Steam Deck in the presentation, that a lot of these games would want to advertise Steam Deck compatible. But no one's doing that right now. So I thought that was really interesting, despite that to me, it still looks like it's a desirable piece of tech, and it's selling well. So I just found that very strange.
Yeah. But yeah, it was kind of funny too, because I know the one time I accidentally decided to turn on the Twitch chat and
Oh, God.
everything.
Why would you do that?
Just when the console version case covers showed up, it was just nothing but, oh my God, how dare this glorious game come out to a console? Ew, gross. And it's
Yeah.
just like, oh, guys, lay off. This isn't the console wars anymore. I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, the PC gaming show in the past did it to themselves. So, you know. But anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But go ahead.
So this one's going to be big to the to the um, management games sort of fans, and it's F1 Manager 2022.
Hmm.
Um, just kind of the same as the past F1 Manager, but apparently there'll be much more dynamic camera views, and you'll be able to kind of uh, get views from the chase camera and everything. And apparently they've also recorded a lot of realistic dialogue from some of the professional racers that are featured in the game.
Hmm.
So it's got the immersion factor there. So if you're into the idea of being like a pro race team manager, then yeah, you're probably going to have a lot of fun with this one.
I think management sim people in general are going to be interested in this because it looks just to be that speed of people who just want exhaustive detail after exhaustive detail, and to just like with that, like specifically with something like Football Manager and Out of the Park Baseball, like there's
Yeah.
just so much detail and so much data that pour through that those type of people will be very interested in that too. That's really the only reason why we mentioned this, because I think those people, and there are surprisingly a large amount of people who are like this, dig these types of games. So yeah.
Following that one was a game that mostly we thought was interesting, and that was Nitro Kid.
Yes, absolutely.
This one, I know you made the illusion that it looked like a better John Wick Hex.
Yes. John Wick Hex was a very disappointing game, but yeah, I
Yeah,
mhm.
and for me, just the whole tile-based combat and combat being based on ability cards really reminded me of one of my favorite PSP games, Metal Gear Acid 2. And
I've got to play that.
fantastic game. Unfortunately, it's been delisted from the PSN store due to licensing,
Hmm.
and the licensing is due to the 3D gravure models that you could view with the 3D goggles if you got the physical copy of the game.
Gravier
Um,
models?
Basically, think of them as like um, skimpy clothing and swimsuit models.
Ah, okay. Boobies. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, um, so for me, just I love the premise of Metal Gear Acid 2, and to see another game sort of take the mantle of that style of a game and really really dig deep, kind of into the chop socky 80s martial arts movie sort of aesthetic. It it looks like it could be a really fun game. So definitely can't wait to see more details come about it and everything.
No. Yeah, absolutely.
So the next game was I Am Future, and um, I confess I'm not the biggest survival game guy these days, but this one looked a little bit more lighthearted, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Um, Especially with a sort of like um, the the trailers sort of being as goofy as it was, and also um, looked kind of Fortnite-y with its art design. But I mean, if you're into that aesthetic, great.
It's kind of got a bit of a darker sense of humor though, so it looks interesting. I'm not a survival fan, so I'm probably not gonna play it, but it looked interesting at least. So
Yeah. Um, so quickly after that was another one that was real big, and that is System Shock, the
mhm.
remake by Night Dive Studios.
Yes, and it's not gonna be as big as it should be because it's such an old game. I think it's from '93, right?
94.
'94. Okay, but people in the know that this is the predecessor to Bioshock. If you didn't have this, you wouldn't have Bioshock. So that's why this is for some a big deal that they're remaking.
Yeah, and it was kind of funny too because during the PC Game Show, they also had Warren Spector, the creator of the original System Shock, on as well too.
Mhm.
And it was kind of interesting because he had said that the um, the remake was definitely something that had his blessing, And one of the things that they showed off was one of the original screens that you bumped into during your first few minutes of playing the original BioShock. It's just a glut of just like help menus and context menus, and for the modern day gamer, a site like that would be an absolute eyesore.
Mm.
So he was just like, yeah, just the remake has my support because just it's trying to go for a more modern day take on System Shock, and I'm all for it. And it's great to see that the original creator is in full support of the game. And I think the thing that a lot of people were excited about was um, I believe they were able to have the original woman who voiced Shodan uh, reprise the voice of Shodan for the remake.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a while
So,
since I've played that, so it's going to be really interesting to play it again.
yeah. So definitely a big and exciting game, one that's gotten definitely a lot of discussion and talk. Closed out pretty good, and then it led into another game that I thought was really interesting, and that was Nivalis.
Yes.
And for anyone who kind of wants a brief synopsis on what Nivalis is, the best way that at least I could summarize it is a business and restaurant management sim in a cyberpunk setting future, but the game's visual design is going with voxels for all of the graphics and everything.
Yeah. And before you balk and be like, that sounds kind of weird, watch the trailer because it looks really good. Like, it's actually a visually striking game. So I have to give the developers credit. They not only used the voxels well, but they made it really visually appealing.
Yeah, and maybe I'm a bit strange on it. I love slice of life games,
Hmm.
so this one definitely has my attention, and I'll definitely be watching for when it arrives to Steam or wherever it ends up showing up and everything. Because yeah, just one of the things that they kind of showed off in this trailer for Nivalis was just sort of you being a business manager, sort of talking to the people in this cyberpunk city, and sort of getting to know their stories and sort of getting to know your neighborhood and everything, so you can manage your business and kind of customize it to the clientele. So yeah, I thought it was a really neat premise and everything. Can't wait to see more of it when it gets a little bit more closer to done.
Okay.
So after that was a game that I think all of us were in agreement was really cool, but God, what an awful name
Oh,
for
God,
it.
yes. Absolutely.
And that game is Demon School, and not Demon Space School, but Demon School as in one whole word made
Yeah.
out of those two
Yeah,
words.
be sure when you type in this to see the trailer that you make sure there's no space. Because I think
Yeah,
the one person that we thought would be really interested in it, she had a hard time finding it because of that. So,
yeah, and like most people, I saw most of the chatter on social media saying, "Yeah, I tried to search for Demon School, and all I was getting was the anime when I had the space in it." And then, of course, a whole bunch of other people said, "No, no, 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 you got to search for it as Demon School, all in one word."
yeah.
So, just awful, awful name.
Change it. Otherwise, really good looking, really interesting, showed off very well. And for those who are fans of Persona specifically, I think they're going to be really interested in this. Like, this
Yeah,
is, I'll spoil it. This is my game for PC gaming show. Like, this is the game to me.
yeah. It's kind of funny too because uh, it looks like a DS era game, but not in a bad way. Um, and the combat looks very inspired from stuff like Into the Breach, because you had stuff like being able to combo enemies together due to them being in a wide AOE effect and everything like that. So just absolutely fascinating looking game. Just nothing but love for it. But dear God, I hope they change the title or just give it a better title,
Yeah.
because just I can already see release day happening and then just people going, yo, I'm searching for Demon School. Why can't I find it? And then
Because
just everyone
English,
going,
motherfucker.
yeah, it's gonna be no. You got to search for it all in one word, and then people are gonna go, wow, that's fucking stupid.
Right. Even if you just do demon space school colon something stupid, and you have a better title, you know, just so you can differentiate between the anime and the game. Like really, like put demon space school kids fighting demons, and then you have your game title is better than this right now. So
Oh yeah,
other than that, it looks fantastic. I can't wait to play it. Actually,
yeah, and it's by Yeastbird Games, which they've released some great games as well too. So, um, fairly confident this is probably gonna sell pretty well.
um, I'm not entirely sure. It really needs to get more eyeballs on it because the people who've seen it really like it. But you need to convince people to want to see the trailer. Unfortunately, and with having a terrible name like that is not going to help. So
Oh yeah,
they need to one change the name and two get their name out there and get out there more with the trailer. And hopefully, I'm hoping it does. I will say so.
yeah. After that was Space Marine 2, and while uh, there was the Warhammer event that was hosted by Xbox earlier last week. Uh, this one was kind of interesting because it was more focused on just the battles that would be seen in Space Marine 2,
Hmm.
and really just the focus was, hey, just we want you to be a Space Marine, just really just hacking through swaths of dudes and everything. So just expect the battles to be bigger, more bombastic, more more just exciting in general, which is an interesting direction to go because I quite like the original Space Marine. So
Yes, I did too.
just the thought of just having just humongous battles against just swarms and mobs of Tyranids, I think that's just going to be an absolute blast of a time.
I hope they learn their lesson from the last game though, because the last game was a full price game, but only lasted about 6 hours, and that was the big problem a lot of people had. That it became successful when it dropped in price. So I hope they decide to price this accordingly, unless this is a bigger game than we realize. Because if it's not, I don't think people are going to spend $60 to $70 on a 6 hour game. So they need to be smart about how they're pricing this.
Yeah, and I agree. Just I bought the original Space Marine for I think $40.
Hmm.
Um, when it was uh, when it was getting a sale for down from the original 60, and at 40, I thought it was an absolute steal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They just need to do that on the get go. Like they need to do it immediately because they can't. This is not a game like as popular as much as people love Space Marine. A lot of them will basically admit if you ask them, no, I bought it when it was 30. No, I bought it when it was 40. I bought it when it was 20, and I was like, wow, this is a great game. No, almost no one bought it at 60. So they have to price this smart. So it showed well, but know what you have and know how much it's worth is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. Um, this next one is a little bit funny, mostly with regards to the circumstances of things. So, for anyone who wants a little bit of background, um, there have been Microsoft employees playing a, remake or remaster of GoldenEye 64 um, from from Rare and everything, and unlocking achievements. And a lot of people were hoping for um, Microsoft to talk about it. And of course, during the Xbox show, nothing. So this game was kind of funny to see because it kind of had some references to GoldenEye 64,
Hmm.
and that is Agent 64.
Yeah.
And what made it funny was the fact that they showed sort of like a 64-bit era 3D shooter game with you playing a secret agent and everything. And what really made it funny was the fact that uh, when when they got to the end of when you got to the end of the trailer, they revealed a mission maker, and the first thought I thought was, all right, so these guys are saying, oh, so Microsoft won't give you a date for when GoldenEye 64 is coming back. Well, we've got you covered. You can just remake the missions on your own.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. um, yeah, like they definitely. It is funny because the remake or remaster of GoldenEye has been talked about for over a decade now. It's been a decade, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
most
So
certainly.
at that point, someone had the idea of why not just make a GoldenEye style game, and it probably took them a few years to do it. And in that time, they're about to release that game before the remake ever comes out. And if this sells well and it gives off that nostalgic feel with while actually providing some necessary improvements, at that point, unless you're really nostalgic for GoldenEye, which I know a lot of people are, why are you going to get GoldenEye after this? Like, if Agent 64 turns out very well, and you can get that nostalgia hit by playing that game while having modern style controls and a modern feel to it, at that point, why would you want GoldenEye? Because I hate to tell this to people, GoldenEye is not that good. It was great. It was great at its time for multiplayer, but play it now and you're like, oh, this is rough. So I think if Agent 64 ends up being a good game that people buy, I almost would say GoldenEye remake would be kind of unnecessary at that point.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I'm sure even if GoldenEye 64 comes out, there's still going to be a giant group of people who are going to say, "Nope, got to get it because this is what I played during my years in high school or middle school."
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, yeah, I thought it was interesting, but yeah, just first thought I had was, "Oh man, I can already see just the modding community just making GoldenEye 64 from scratch with the map maker and everything."
Yeah, pretty much. And that's probably exactly what's going to happen too. And you know what? At this point, I won't feel bad for them because they've had so much time to do it. So, oh well.
Yeah. Uh, Next up is Stormgate, and the reason we're mentioning it now instead of when it was originally revealed from Summer Games Fest was during the Games Fest presentation, they only revealed one blithering screenshot,
Yeah.
which was just like, okay, so oh, you wait now to tell us that it's an RTS game, and all you've got to give us is one measly screenshot. Okay, guys, you got to learn how to market this better. This is absolutely atrocious. So, um, but this round for the PC game show, they showed off a little more just on how things work, and it looks like it's going to be a streamlined real-time strategy game, was what they're saying, because they're saying that they get that the learning curve on playing stuff like StarCraft and micromanaging just a ton of units can be really, really challenging. So it's kind of interesting that they're going for a more streamlined real-time strategy game design. And the other thing that I thought was interesting was the fact that you'll be able to do PvE in the campaign, and also, as usual, you can do um, player versus bot matches as well too. It's got a lot of pedigree going for it because a lot of the staffers on hand for this game are former Blizzard, Warcraft, and StarCraft people. So
Right.
they've got some very big shoes to fill.
Right, and that's kind of what they're banking on right now because they only showed I think they only showed a trailer that was CGI and barely any gameplay, so they're relying on their pedigree to actually see this through. And the fact that they're making an esports push already is concerning.
Yeah, definitely putting the cart before the horse, and that's definitely not a good thing because the first thing that I got flashbacks of was Heroes of the Storm, just big esports scene, and then only to find out that Blizzard was artificially propping it. And
Yeah.
I'm just worried that this game is going to fall to the same fate, that they're just going to be artificially propping up the esports scene, and just making this big push of, oh, our game's cool. Don't you see all the popular esports people playing it? Hey, look, we've got like multi-million-dollar tournaments. You all should really get in and play this game. And then only for the game to bomb because they'd blown their budget on just esports marketing.
Yeah. But we can't even say if it looks interesting or not because we don't know exactly what it looks like or what it's going to be. So it's interesting that it ended up on two shows, and mainly it was because of the pedigree. But we just don't know exactly how it's going to be.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully it's free to play, so I mean, it's not like you'll have to spend money to find out whether it's for you or not. But
That's true.
just that one, I'll be curious to watch on because I won't lie, I own StarCraft 2, love it. I'm not the greatest at it, but I will play some player versus bot matches, and as long as I've got a friend who's really good with helping me keep focused and everything, then I have a grand time with it. And I really miss Warcraft 2 and Warcraft 3 a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
I do too.
some of my favorite strategy games of all time, and to kind of see this game really going big on this whole, hey, we've got the pedigree of people who made some of the biggest games of your childhood. Uh, I'm very interested, but I'm also very cautious
Yeah,
because I've been disappointed so many times.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, but yeah, let's hope it. We can only hope that it works out, but we'll be interested to see when they show more.
Yeah. So after Stormgate was the new Blood block, and there were some interesting updates for some of their games. A Medieval, Dusk HD, and uh, if you're a fan of vintage style boomer shooters, then you'll have a lot of fun with the new Blood block. But the big one that everyone had been waiting on news for was Gloomwood.
Mhm.
Mostly because just that one had been teased, and last year, unfortunately, there was a sort of like um, a really blue ball moment because Dave Oshry, the PR guy for New Blood, got stonewalled by a PC Gamer commercial that they had put up right before they were going to show it. So um, it looks good. It looks very Quake inspired with some horror in it. So definitely excited for it as a person who grew up with a lot of Quake and a lot of Unreal Tournament. So uh, yeah, definitely really excited to see more of it. And I believe there's a demo for the game currently right now for the Steam Next Fest. So I'll probably have to pull that
Oh,
and check
okay.
it out.
Yeah, definitely.
Any thoughts on Gloomwood?
Um, looks interesting. Not my cup of tea, to be completely honest. So, but yeah, it looks good. Looks good.
Okay. Um, the last one was kind of an odd game to close the PC game show with. And the reason it's strange is that it's a mod
Hmm.
for a very niche game, and that's Half-Life Alyx, and the mod is called Levitation.
I thought it was
And
Leviathan.
just
Did I
the
spell
what?
that? Did I spell that wrong?
No,
No, it's
you
levitation. You're right. You're right. You're right. It's levitation. It's my bad. I'm sorry.
but yeah, just it was really odd to see them end it with a mod for a game, especially considering that it's not something officially made by Valve, and that's not to say I'm against modding. It's just very strange to make um, your closer, which is normally supposed to be for like a really big, really significant announcement, and to end it on a mod for a VR game.
Hmm.
And even more so, it's a bit niche too because the Valve Index headset is a whopping $1,000 if you have none of the bits and pieces to get the Steam VR stuff going.
Right. And but isn't Half-Life Alyx on the Quest, or is that not on there yet?
It's not on Quest, but
Oh.
I wouldn't doubt it if you could hack the Quest to be able to play Half-Life Alyx
Okay.
via your PC. So because I know that there's a lot of folks who will hack Oculus games to work with the Steam VR platform, so you can play with your Vive and everything. So I would have no doubts that there's somebody who's probably done the reverse engineering work.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, again, I agree. It was weird to close the PC gaming show with a mod. But then again, because modding is so prevalent in PC gaming, I guess that makes a little sense. But yeah, I mean, are they charging for this mod, or is it going to be a free mod? Because in order for it to be in the PC gaming show, you have to pay for the space, right? Unless somebody on there just wanted to champion it and just say, no, this needs to be in here and we'll do it for free. But I don't, it's weird. And if we're being VR, I'm not interested in it just because it's VR. But I guess people who have the Vive and have played Half-Life Alyx, who admittedly is few, but do love the game, they have reason to be excited. But with that being said, that's so few people. So I'm with you. I don't understand why they made this the end of the entire show.
Yeah, it's very strange, and I believe the mod is completely free.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming just somebody on the PC game show just thought it was just super neat. And
Yeah.
I mean, good on them. Just it's always interesting when a mod gets recognition because just mods typically end up being labors of love, and I get it. Just it's a lot of love to give, and to give it away for free is just something that most people would just kind of go, "Oh, wow, are you crazy? Why would you give away your work?"
Yeah. Yeah, and the reason why is because you want the most amount of people to play it, and that could possibly parlay into a job into the industry. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. It's an interesting choice to end this. So, with that being said, for what it is, it looks interesting. It's just not my cup of tea. So,
Yeah, and it was a really, really long demonstration of it too. So
yes.
that was kind of one thing that I was real surprised about. I was just like, wow, just more power on you for showing off a mod to close out your show. But this is just a really, really long thing. I figured you guys would have just kept things as minimal as possible just to kind of get people teased enough to go, hey, I'm gonna follow this and download it and everything.
Yeah. Someone wants a job at Valve, is basically what it sounds like, and they may get it. But this looked a lot like a hire this person, please, kind of video. So.
Oh yeah, definitely something to build your resume on.
Yeah. Okay. So we're at the end of the PC gaming show. What were your thoughts on the show?
30% less cringe.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. Like I was surprised. I mean, it's still there, but the fact that we were warning everybody in chat, like you're gonna cringe hard on this, so be prepared. And people are like, oh, it's not that bad. Like you're right, it's not. it's like they're learning their lesson.
Yeah, and they had Mika Burton back, and I thought she was lovely last year, and to see that she's still lovely this year was nice. So.
Yes.
But yeah, just I was legitimately surprised that this was 30% less cringy than it was last year.
Yeah. They still need to work on their interviews though, because their interviews are just not that interesting. I mean, unless you are interested in the specific game. But if you're not, they don't give out that great of information. It's all pre-canned, PR approved, questions that are being asked. So it's like either if you're going to have those people on, either ask some substantive questions or don't bother. Just make it trailers and go from there. But yeah, to me this is the second best showing of the week. For my standings, it was Xbox PC gaming show, State of Play and Summer Games Fest was last. Like those
What
are
about Devolver?
I almost don't want to count Devolver because it was 20 minutes and with 4 games. But if I had to count it, Devolver would probably be second.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
second.
And funny enough, I think your ratings sort of mirror mine.
Okay. Yeah. I mean that doesn't matter really. What matters is how these games are presented. This is kind of just wonky talk about the gaming industry itself and who won E3. Like who fucking cares? But it's important. It was important for Xbox to show that they had games coming in the next year, which they did. And I think that was the big question this year. It was, does Xbox have a good enough showing to get people excited to want to A, buy their system, or B, not want to sell it? And I think they succeeded there. They didn't succeed for this year, but they succeeded nonetheless.
Yeah, and I think the other part is on top of having something to show for next year, the bigger piece is just the fact that they had actual gameplay footage.
Yes.
They didn't sort of phone it in like Sony did with the state of play presentation with a bunch of concept trailers and stuff like that.
What are your top games of the shows?
Ooh, for I'll just pick them per show. So
Oh, okay.
for PlayStation, definitely Street Fighter 6.
Yes, agreed.
Just easily Street Fighter 6. For Summer Games Fest, as much as I'm kind of aghast at some of the intense, gory depictions, Callisto Protocol for that one.
Agreed.
For Devolver, I am quite torn between The Plucky Squire and Skate Story.
I would be too, absolutely.
For Xbox, just lots of good stuff. For me, since I'm a big co-op gamer, I'd have to say definitely looking forward to Redfall because just the idea of grouping up with my friends, and especially now finding out that it's a looter shooter, I'm just kind of excited to just group up with my friends online and just go loot and shoot and just start trading weapons around.
Yeah.
PC game show, uh, oof. A lot of good stuff. Um, for me, since I'm a big shooter person, um, Gloomwood and Agent 64 definitely have the most of my attention. And
Okay.
then a second place showing would be Demon School, even though I fucking hate that title.
Oh yeah, it's terrible. Yeah. Um, I think the games that made the biggest leaps this year were Street Fighter 6, Callisto Protocol. What else? I'm going through all of it right now in my head. Plucky Squire, Skate Story, Redfall. I think Redfall had a strong showing.
Oh yeah.
God. If it wasn't for Immortal, I would have said Diablo 4. But since Immortal is sucking up some of the stage, I can't use Diablo 4. So
Yeah, and I'm the same way too. As much as I've loved Diablo and everything, just it hurts me that I cannot, in good conscience, be excited for Diablo 4, especially with just the usual canned PR response of, "Oh yeah, monetization is going to be cosmetic only," and it's just like, yeah, I'll believe that when pigs fly.
yeah. And then Demon School would probably be the other ones. Like those games right there made huge splashes, and I think they're going to sell really well and do very good when they come out, as long as they don't screw up something. And I think, honestly, if I'm going to choose a game that probably made the biggest splash, Street Fighter 6.
Oh yeah, especially with just how hard Capcom is going on the PR front with that one.
Yeah.
Just really showing off what the game's about, letting major fighting game personalities take a deep dive into the mechanics. It's just a lot to take in.
Yeah. And then second would be Callisto Protocol. Even though I'm not interested in it, I can already tell that people are excited by this and they want to play it. So that gets second. And then I think third is Demon School. I mean, you can interchange. You can change that with Redfall, and it would be fine. But I think Demon School is probably going to get more buzz as time goes on. So they just got to change the name.
All right. It looks like that is the end of this show. So, yeah, it was a doozy, but this is a great way to catch up on all the Summer Games Fest stuff for anyone who wanted a big synopsis on it.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think that's all we've got. With regards to the show being a bit long, let's go ahead and end it because I know usually you end up asking me a question and everything.
Oh, and the question would be a long time, so no, we're not gonna do it this time.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, we'll just close it out. I am Zero,
and I'm the Wiz.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week.